Okay, Wayne. Okay, Ronnie. So thanks for joining the podcast. Really pleased to have you on board.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself? Real quick? Who you are, what you do?
Yeah, my name is Ronnie Teja. I'm the founder and operator for Branzio Watches. I don't like using the word operator anymore. Thanks to Julian.
Thank you. So so you're selling watches online.
Yes, sir. We sell in about 66 countries globally. And
Yes.
Branzio was a watch company that came about over 5 years ago. Pure play e-commerce.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. So just before we get started, was obviously talking about how you went from a disorganized team to running pretty much a military operation. Do you have like a funny anecdote with your staff or something like unusual that's happened to you, over the years, having people working for you? Is it something a bit funny, something a bit crazy that's happened?
Yeah, it's funny you should bring it up. At the Christmas party of last year, I was emailed a gift package from one of our employees, Amir. And Amir lives in Bosnia. And Amir sent me a cream. And I was very excited to get this product because when I opened it, little did I know, it was a penis enlargement cream. So yes, my team does like to prank me and play tricks on me.
Okay. Okay. Have you tried the cream?
I don't think so. It really pertains to me. It's not in my niche, but sure. It's a thought that matters.
So do you do like a Christmas party every year with your employees? Do you do something like this every year?
Yeah, I mean, we are a completely virtual team, right? So it's one of those things where you want to be able to bring your team and your whole group together and to be able to do like quarterly meetings, to be able to do Christmas meetings, to be able to sit around having a rap session with your whole team or a karaoke session with your whole team and some fun and games or solving like some analytical puzzles. They tend to bring the team together, right? And at the end of the day, when you have these celebrations, even if they're like milestones of the company, right? Like company hit, let's say $1 million a month in rev. These are celebrations that you need to give your team credit for at the end of the day. And once you have that sort of the common goal that where you are emoting or sort of connecting to each one of the people in your team, I believe that's when an organization can truly grow. Otherwise, people there just to collect a paycheck. This is what Google or Facebook says, have the employees drank the Kool-Aid. So it's one of those situations there. So we want to be able to celebrate our successes, our wins with everybody on the team. And Christmas, hell yeah, man. It's a celebration.
Okay. And do people are you the only one who gets a present, or does everyone get a present?
Everybody has a secret Santa. So it's all about a secret
Santa.
Santa.
Oh, wow. Okay. You do secret Santa. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite fun, that. And did you have Father Christmas coming as well or not?
Yes, of course. We need a Father Christmas. I wish I had grown my beard a little bigger. I think it would have worked out a lot better.
Because I've worked with someone else, and they actually they do the Secret Santa like you do, and each year one of the employees dresses up as Father Christmas and turns them on Zoom during the call and dishes out the present. Everything is quite fun.
Yeah, phenomenal. I believe it's Ray. Ray was Secret Santa. He's the man.
Right. Good. Excellent. Very good. But so you obviously did you always do the Christmas party, or is it when you started getting a grip on your team that you started implementing that stuff?
It's funny you should mention that, right? Let me take you back to a bit of background. So about 2 years ago, I basically hired you, but I'll give you the scenario before we started working together. I'd run my business by then for about three and a half years, maybe 4 years. Timing not being perfect, but the Ronnie of yesteryear was I was working in my business, and everybody says in my business, on my business. So let me clarify what it actually means. I was up until 12 midnight or 1 a.m. Right? I had a team who was working for me of 20 plus employees. Every small problem that each and every employee had, at that point in time, my mentality was, hey, I'm going to be this tech pro. I'm going to have a very flat structure. I'm going to be able to communicate with everybody, and I want to be everybody's friend. I wanted to be a populist, which of course did not work for me, because every time people had even the smallest of issues, people would come and they would come up to me, be like, hey, the customer has so-and-so question. How can I help you out? So what that does is like, even if you're trying to work or if you're trying to like figure something out, uh, let's say I have a watch launch coming up. I have a product launch for a watch coming up. I want to look at the designs. I want to look at the suppliers. I want to look at that. But like, should I really be bothered with the customer service question at the end of the day? And if these things are happening, then how are you going to keep you focused on, the pedal to the metal or the larger goal versus, answering customer service questions? So my sleep cycle was basically what, 4 to 5 hours a night. I was always on my phone. I was always in Slack. I was always strung out, very highly strung. And, I was dealing with it, coping with it with alcoholism. I mean, there's no easy way of saying it. I was drinking and binge drinking my troubles away. And, unhealthy habits, gaining a lot of weight. I was 115 kilos back then. And I was overly stressed. And then to the Ronnie of today, which is basically like a completely different scenario where it's like, okay, I'm able to do podcasts. I'm able to be at conferences. I'm able to work on my business, which essentially means I'm able to look at things from a higher level. My team is very organized. We have different silos. We have a structured team altogether. And what that essentially means for a business owner is that I can actually go and uh, have a management team in place, and I trust these people. One of the main things that's changed for me over the last 2 years personally is I'm able to actually trust my business to other people to be able to run it, versus me being I'm the center and I'm the bottleneck and I'm the person who the company is dependent on. So if I ever got sick or if my plane ever crashed, then the company's gone.
You talked about, if we just rewind just real quick, you've talked about the fact that you had a flat structure and you wanted to be everybody's friend, like a bit of a populist. I'm curious to know, was that by design, the flat structure? And what I mean by that is, did you have margin problems and you thought you needed to be quite conservative with your costing? Or was this like, did you think that being very close to every employee was a good thing?
I thought being close to, like, for me, I think it was very important to be liked. And
Uh,
there's no use. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, right? It was very important for me to be liked. It was very important, and all the books in the world that I had read by then was like, okay, if you have a flat organization, people have access to you, and that's the easiest way to solve problems. And you want to pulse on your customer, and all these books tell you about X, Y, Z, which is like, okay, well, these books don't tell you how much stress you're always going to be under if you constantly answering, helping people answer customer service questions that they could just go on Google and find out by themselves. So not really ideal at the end of the day, is it?
hmm.
And it stresses you out. Like, you go to bed with problems and you wake up to like a blown up Slack channel or a blown up email with like 10 different questions. And you're like, wait a second, what am I paying you for if you can't even solve these problems then?
Yes, 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 yes. And do you miss now not having your pulse on the customers, or do you find that actually you can find the information that you need without having to be involved at the deep end?
I'd say it's pretty easy for me to find the information with just we have analytics, we have customer service and operations manager that actually does weekly reporting on this data. So versus me going in and being like, hey, why is this customer complaining, or what's exactly going on? Tell me what is it? So, on average day, if we have 100 customers, do I need to know what all 100 customers are thinking and what they're complaining about? No, I don't need to know that. I need to know the macro level picture. But if at a certain point of time, if I see that customer satisfaction is dipping, then, it's my job to pull up the customer service and operations manager and go like, hey, what's going on? Last time we were at 90% last week. And this week we're sitting at about 85 or 80%. What's gone wrong? Like, is this team not performing well? Why are they not performing well? Or reviews have dipped. Why have the reviews dipped? What's the scorecard look like right now? And a customer satisfaction scorecard is what I was discussing with you before, right? What does that look like in everybody in the customer service team? Are they, do they have the right amount of reviews coming in? What does the customer satisfaction look like? So having that scorecard and keeping that like sort of a true north uh, uh, pivot in place where people can say, okay, look, this is where we're headed and this is where we want to be, and this is how you're going to be measured at the end of it, is a much better way, much more efficient way to do things versus around being like, okay, and this is how I used to get bonuses. I'm not even lying. It's like, okay, how was your performance? Well, I think you did pretty well. So here's an extra $500 for the month. And then, Julian's laughing because this is how we used to do it. It'd be like, okay, how are you bonusing them? And of course, an employee is going to say, I did an awesome job. And they're going to manipulate the numbers to give themselves the best amount of credit possible, which actually happened. And I'm guilty as, the next business owner of trusting people too much.
Yes, because you talked about that trust as well. The interesting thing I remember actually when we worked together is that you did, funny enough, you did really trust your team, but you had quite a few people, I remember, who weren't really trustable.
Yeah, well, now that you bring it up, that's a past life. But I'm glad we were able to go through that whole process together. From what I remember, back then we had a team leader. I'm not going to name names, just it's not right.
No, no point.
We had a team leader who I really trusted to manage the team in the Philippines. Now, she had been in that position for about 3 years. And anything that had to be handled with the team in the Philippines, the payroll, everything else was on this person. And I trusted them completely. What I didn't know was that this person took advantage of my trust, which was basically, showing up to work hungover, not showing up to work at all. So there was a B player. There was a feeling of top-down, trickle-down leadership, which was a B person who was killing all the the A players in our company, which is basically showing up for work hungover, not being able to perform well, being like, hey, I'm too lazy to go to work today, etc., etc., and then, getting the A players to do all the work. And what happened as a result was this trickle-down effect. All the A players looked up and they said, wait a second, this guy doesn't know what's going on. I'm just going to leave. And that's what was happening. The best employees that I had in the company all of a sudden left. And so what I'm left with is, B players or C players where, they just want to come to work for 4 hours, browse YouTube for the other 2 hours and be on the text messaging and the cell phones for another 2 hours, chit chat with their friends for another couple of hours. And, that's the day of the work done, and charge me overtime for another 2 hours that, you just go for a walk around the block. And they just left the computer on and they put like a nice, $1 coin on the keyboard so that it shows on HubSpot that they're actually working, which they're not. So yeah, that's my experience. True and fast.
It's interesting how quickly I'd say a team in general, a group of person, can go south when you have someone who doesn't have the right intention. And as you say, he's a B player, but he's the one in charge. I mean, I find sometimes, and you might have some feedback on this. I'm interested to know what you're thinking. But if you have a top A player in charge, you can somehow afford to have, not too many, but a few B players working for that guy because he's going to pull them. He's going to get the best out of them somehow. Whereas if you've got that B player in charge, forget it. It's almost like dead because, as you rightly said, the A players are going to leave because they don't want to work for an idiot. And then he or she will also, I find, attract B and C players working for him or her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, things fine, right? It's like, it's one of those scenarios. So let me give you an example that you and me both would love, right? It's like, that Netflix documentary, The Last Dance, right? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's a perfect example of this, right? He came into work saying that I'm going to be my best self today. I'm going to be performing well. So he made those people around him a lot better, right? So all of a sudden you're elevating your whole team with you. So, you're hitting the court 6-7 hours. You're a superstar no matter what. Every day the expectation is you're going to come to the court, you're going to play hard, you're going to ball hard, and you're going to stay over after practice so, we can analyze the game, etc., etc. Then you have, on the other end, you'll probably have, Dennis Rodman or some of the other guys who basically they just go to Vegas and you're like, what the hell, right? It's like a good example I remember from the documentary was Dennis Rodman went to Vegas for like a week. And you're like, where the hell is he? And Michael Jordan, apparently in the documentary, flies down to Vegas, picks Dennis Rodman by the ear, and brings him back to Chicago for the finals. Now that is an A player versus a B player. And, if you have A players like that, all of a sudden, your whole game is being elevated versus, just not giving a damn and you're attracting like B players and C players. And, you do need B players. I'm not saying you don't. You need a balance, but don't mistake personalities, A and B personalities, for A players and B players. I think that the distinction is quite important. Got it, wanted,
Yes.
has capacity to perform, versus
Yes.
somebody who just says, the example I was giving earlier of somebody who just basically goes for a walk, chills out, is on their phone texting people, etc., etc. No, that's not how things work.
It's interesting you bring up the examples of house dance, because at the time, like I think 90% of the league's team didn't want Dennis Rodman in their team. He was a very good player. I mean, there's lots of stuff that's been written about him and said as well, but no one wanted him on their team, and no one could cope with him on their team because he would blow up the whole team with his character, his extravagance and everything. Toxic, exactly. But the Chicago Bulls, because of the way they were structured and the way they were actually managed, were able to absorb him and get the best out of him. Which is interesting because it's about the culture as well, which is good transition for me. You had that sort of like situation where, a B player was running the show and everything, and bringing a lot of their friends and everything. And how was the culture at the time? How would you describe the culture of the company at that time?
Well, the culture of the company was, so, like, to take it a step back, I mean, I also had employees in Vancouver, right? So the culture of the company in general was, I don't know what the opposite of proactive is. What is the opposite of proactive, Julian? Help me out. Yeah. So reactive would be the word I would use. So the company was quite reactive. We were number one posting. We weren't growing. Every time any problem came up, it was always Ronnie, boss, or like, hey Ronnie, what do we do? What do we do? It's the people were there. People are like, okay, what's the way out of this? And there was no sort of cohesive glue, right? There was nothing that was actually bringing us together. For people, it was just a paycheck. For some people, it was an opportunity to immigrate to Canada. And for some people, it was, getting the PR status in Canada, etc. There was nothing that said, I believe in this organization. I'm going to grow with this organization. The wins of the organization, if you remember what I was talking about, the Christmas party, are also my wins. I feel that I'm connected to somebody in the Philippines, or I'm connected to somebody in Kenya, I'm connected to somebody in Bosnia, I'm connected to somebody around the world, because we're a team, we work together. Unfortunately, that wasn't there.
So I have a question for you on that, because I think a lot of people who manage a business, obviously they read the same book that you read, and they get into this whole fallacy of I have to be nice and I have to be liked by employees and I need to be close to them and all of that. When it was like this, do you think people, number one, had fun at work, and number two, liked each other? Or how was it from that standpoint, from their relationship with your business? Do you think they liked work and they were proud of their work, and they liked each other?
Probably they liked each other, but I don't think so they're proud of their work. The satisfaction of coming into work, working 8 hours and going back home, being like, hey, I accomplished something, is quite important. It's a feeling of fulfillment, right? It's like, okay, I actually went to work. I did what I had to do today. I changed somebody's, you can't go with the mentality of, hey, I changed somebody's life. This is, we are in the business of selling stuff, selling things online, and, servicing customers and making sure customers are happy. We have been gifted with guys like Amir. We have been gifted by, a few really extremely intelligent people, Ray being included, and the whole customer service team, where I look at them and I'm like, okay, the customer is always number one, no matter what. But I mean, even if you take it one step below, which is to say, look, I went into work, I did what I had to do, and I achieved my goals perfectly, and I came out of that, and I'm happy and content with myself. After that, it's good. Whereas, a separate mentality, which is like, oh man, I went into work, I don't know how it was, I can't wait to drink with my work friends. Which is like, okay, then why do you get work then? If you just want to go drink, why not just go drink at 10 a.m. in the morning, and that's it?
Yes.
Right? It's like all you're looking for is an excuse. I'm not even lying. It's like the way I look at it is it's an excuse for a paycheck, charging overtime for that paycheck. And then basically like, Friday through Monday, drinking with your workmates.
I don't know about you, but I find that quite often the mentality of people who, for example, it's one of my the typical one I always say. People who come out of Upwork usually will have that mentality. I see it a lot in companies where the management, especially like the owner, they talk about task and having to do task. And it's very much that mentality of paycheck, you know, like I'm here to do my task, I do my task, and then I get a paycheck, and that's it, kind of thing. And especially when they hire out of Upwork, you know, like a lot of people, they just give task, and they've got these. Because correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have any project management software, do you? You don't have a ClickUp, or I think you have a Trello board, but
Trello
just for the
board, yeah.
marketing team. But doesn't.
It's very loosely
Yeah,
managed. I'm not an organized person. I need people around me who organize things for me, to be honest. And I'll admit to it 100%.
But I think the way you manage things is that because you say you're not organized. I'm not entirely sure. I think you're being a little bit modest here, because the way you organize your business is around, this is your area, this is what you need to do and achieve. This is your KPI. Now go on and do it. And you're not necessarily bother about how much tasks they've done, or do you see what I mean?
Yeah, look, from that perspective, so I think there's a shift in mentalities there, right? So it's basically like, okay, do I want to pay this person task by task? Probably not. And that's where things like Upwork, like if you have Upwork, which a lot of people do use, and it has its time and place, but not really in my business. And the reason I'll tell you is why. Upwork is basically, you come in, the person who you're going to hire is literally going to go look at by the hour. They're going to work by the minute to that hour, and then the job is done. They don't care. They're not vested in your business. They don't care who you are. They don't, they're like, okay, I've taken my paycheck, I've gone home, and I'm going to get some sleep because there's money in my bank account. Versus hiring somebody, longer term, which is basically like saying, okay, these are mission and values of the company. Do you fit into these mission and values of the company? Do our interests align? And once those are aligned, then we can say, okay, come on in. We are going to set you up with this long-term vision and long-term goal. And, we want you to come in and work with us and see, how happy you are. And if you're going back happy, you're going back fulfilled, you're going back, feeling connected to the whole team, and you're working harder or smarter, whichever way, then you feel like, hey, it's a win for both of us. It's a win for me, personally, that I get to see satisfied employees going home. They feel satisfied. Hey, we've done something to change things around us and the environment around us to be better. And it's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the thing that always gets me with Upwork as well, especially being an HR and recruiter, is that they're not your employees. They belong to Upwork, because you have to be on Upwork for them to work with you anyway. And besides that, on Upwork, we all know how it works, like they have all these offers of other jobs. So to me, it seems insane that you would employ people who have every single day access to competitive offers, so a competitor can snatch them.
Yeah. That's the way I look at it, right?
Exactly.
You have no loyalty. Yeah. Your loyalty is to the coin.
Yes, it's a good expression, actually. The loyalty is to the coin. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
How did you change? So what happened then? So when you were in that situation, and what happened for you to decide to change, and how did you go about changing things?
Well, it's a pretty complicated situation. So I was in a situation where I was working about, let's say, 15 to 16-hour days, or on the weekends working like 8-hour days on the weekend, and then substituting my stress with drinking, which wasn't really healthy in the long term, right? I always talk to fellow entrepreneurs who try to explain to me the scenario that I was in, which is essentially, working on your business versus working in your business, which I never understood. So I basically read, a few books about it. I was like, okay, I'm a tech pro. I'll understand how to actually do all these things myself. And making these speeches and emails out, which definitely would not work because I didn't understand the whole process of it. And at that point in time, which was sort of the lowest of the low point that I was, we got introduced through a common mutual friend of ours, Antoine, who basically said, okay, there's this guy I know, his name's Julian. He basically hires people for you and see how it works out. And I said, okay, well, thanks, Antoine, I appreciate it. And then, okay, that's how we got introduced. And at that point in time, I still didn't understand what he did, to be honest. I have zero clue what he did. I have zero clue.
Okay.
I know what to do now. But back then I was like, okay, there is this Julian guy and he hires people for you. I was like, okay, so he's a recruiter? Like, what exactly is this? And then we had that call, right? And that call was, okay, no matter what happens, we'll be on this journey for 6 months and we'll figure it out together. And it was good to have, a person externally who's looking in on your business and giving you feedback, being like, look, this is what's been going on behind your back. This is what's happening. It's like you've been to, I won't say you've been too trusting, but it's like, people tend to take advantage of your trust. That's the way I would look at it. And it's like, okay, wow, that's a wake up call. It was upsetting, but in the long run, we are here. I'm sitting in Vancouver. You're sitting in, the UK, and I'm able to concentrate on these other things in my life a little better, like my health. I've lost about 30, 40 kilos. I'm working not 16-hour days. I'm working, 6 to 10 hour days, depending on the day. But I feel fulfilled that I can at least take breaks, go for a bike ride. I mean, I wasn't able to go to the gym before. Imagine this scenario. You own a company, you're paying people's paychecks, and you can't even go to the gym. You can't even go for a bike ride. You can't even play squash, because as soon as you hit any one of these sports, in the back of your mind, it's always like, shit, my business is going to fold. And that's a pretty shitty experience to have, because you're in it for the fun and you don't get to enjoy your life at all. It's a journey, right? It's a marathon. And if you don't get to enjoy that experience, which I'm enjoying now, it's a completely different feeling that you get.
Because it's not even that your company was understaffed, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this 6 months, I think we reduced slightly the number of people. Because when we hear you, someone I think could easily imagine listening to you that, you were working all the extra hours and all this time because you were understaffed and you didn't have enough employees.
Yeah, we had 20 plus employees. We had 20, 25 employees. I mean, if I look at what a team was 2 years ago to now, actually we've grown the team. But how much? Maybe like 2 employees, 3 employees maximum, not more than that. Yeah.
But the business has grown quite a lot.
Yeah, the business has grown quite a lot, just because we have more dedicated employees, more people who are focused, more people who want to, who come in, feel satisfied with the job. Not satisfied would be an understatement. It's who feel proud of the work that they're putting in. And, coming up, I'll go back to that first thing again, mission, vision, and values. People who fit into a mold. And that mold is something that they want to...
Maybe explain that, Ronnie, if you don't mind, the mission, vision, value. So, because when you had that, you were in that situation before, you didn't necessarily do this work about mission, vision, and values, and now you have that 360 stuff. So how did that come about, and what does it look like, and what does it actually do in the company?
Yeah, look, I'm glad you brought it up. I think that was one of the first documents we actually worked on together, right? Which was, what is the mission? Where do I want to see this company, right? That's more the vision, but it's like, okay, so what's the vision? Where do I see this company 5 years from now? If I were to sell my company today, what does that look like? How are we? And the mission is how I'm going to get to that vision. Very loose terms, very hard to come up with yourself. Trust me on this. You need a guidepost or something to come up, to help you come up with that. And what is the experience I'm providing my customer, right? So the vision would be, in 5 years, Branzio is going to be dominating the watch market. The mission would be is every year we're going to service about 100,000 customers to be able to get there. And the value is we're going to deliver an Amazonics experience to all our customers. So, like something like a no questions asked refund guarantee, give them a 90-day product guarantee or something. And once we have these 3 things in place, then you put it to your team and you say, look, this is the way I envision things being. And people who believe in this dream, who believe in this goal, will all come together and say, look, you're looking out for customers first. You are looking out to service so many customers, and this is the way, the path that you have shown us. It's a higher level path. It's like it's a higher calling that people look out for. People talk about a higher calling in a company, in a church, whatever. You need that higher calling. What does that look like? This is what it looks like.
I think a lot of people will probably think, oh, is he taking the piss here? Because, working in customer service for an e-commerce business isn't really a high calling. But I think the difference here is that because you yourself, the owner of the company, believe in that stuff, then it's contagious. And then your guy who do customer service, they start thinking that, hey, yes, it is a higher calling. I can actually make a difference to these people buying a watch online, give them a really good service and make their day better.
Yeah, I mean, it's very myopic of people just think, oh, it's just customer service. Just, so personally speaking, I'm a very customer focused person, right? They're the bread and butter, and they basically are the biggest ambassadors and would be the word of mouth for the company, right? Some people don't put as much, I guess, emphasis on it. If you don't, I'm going to say it outright, you're an idiot, because your customers are the people who are your bread and butter. It's like always, customers king. Number one, that's always in my books. Number two, we hired people. I remember this when we met Amir, who's a gentleman from Bosnia, who we were very lucky in hiring. And the reason I remember in his interview, which I'd seen, and when I talked to him, was like, he's like, I don't really care about anything else. If I don't, and he was very vocal about it. He says, the customer, I'm not going to go to sleep if I don't find that I've serviced my customers well. And I remember that from day one. He says, if your company does not put the customer first, I don't want to join your company. And I was like, wait a second, alignment. And now we have, and then from there on, we built, that whole customer service with people like Amir. And I'll never forget that interview. It was like, okay, if your focus is not a customer, I'm sorry, I can go look at another organization. And I was like, well, thanks, Amir.
It's interesting because you said we were very lucky to find him, and we were in essence lucky to find him. But I think I remember when we did that round, we also found Dennis at the same time.
Not
who's
take
the
away from
operation
Dennis.
manager.
Yeah, I mean, and Dennis is an owner operator. No, sorry, not owner and operator. Grid operations manager. A person who in the e-com environment had not worked on, I think, in something similar.
No.
But what he was really good was being an excellent man manager or human manager.
Yes.
I don't know what's the politically correct term, but I'll use.
Yeah, man manager.
Yeah. And he'd managed teams of up to 70 people before. So he has an extremely good hold on, people and how to look through people, how to get teams motivated, how to work together with that. So this is a great, so good skill sets, which brings me to the next point. Good skill sets doesn't necessarily need to be in that field that you're looking for. You can take people in, you can transform them, you can use those soft skills, and you can use the core skill set. So in Dennis's case was managing large teams, working with people and knowing how to deal with people, and then transfer that skill set to e-commerce, right? Perfectly for us, because he's a really, really good man manager. And he was able to, it took him a little bit of time to, of course, scale up from a traditional business to an e-commerce business, which was about, 30 to 60 days. And after that, it's just been smooth sailing. And that's fine. You should be able to take that risk to give somebody a chance and saying, look, this is our long-term goal and vision. How will you help us get there? And he's just taken it and he's run with it, which is fantastic.
And how did you train him? Do you remember?
I don't. Wasn't it Ray who trained Dennis?
No, Ray came after. We hired Ray. So Ray was working for you, and then he left. He was one of your A player who left because he was fed up of the way it was run. Dennis, he actually, to his credit, he worked for 30 to 60 days in customer service, taking calls in order to learn the job of the people he was going to manage.
Yeah, this is a manager who's getting his hands dirty day in and day out, answering customer emails, talking to people. So because he needs, and that's I think anybody who we hire now, the first thing they do is they go work in customer service. Like even for the YouTube ads creator that we hired recently, they work in customer service. I think having your hands ready in customer service is important. If you don't have a pulse on your customers, how are you going to be able to build an organization around it? And especially if you say you're customer focused,
that's right. And
if you have that mentality of saying customer first, if not everybody in the company knows how your customers function. I mean, for developers, they don't need to be customer facing, Alan and all those guys. But you need to understand how your customer thinks. And if you don't,
but they are. So it's interesting you talk about the developer. I didn't know if you wanted to bring them up, but what I've noticed is that your 360 that you've implemented, the customer first, the Amazon experience and everything, it has also rubbed on the development team.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's objective, right? It's the objectivity that you bring to the organization of saying, okay, everything has to be customer first. Everything. I mean, there's a good book about it. If anybody's a reader here, which is basically the Zappos way, which is about delivering happiness, and that's one of the books
Yes.
that Dennis and Amir got for their Christmas present. I think, and that's a good book to have. That's a good book to give to anybody if you want to look at things from a customer side. Because in Zappos, even the COO, when they was first hired for 3 to 6 months, worked in customer service. Like not the whole time, because that'd be a bad use and that'd be an overpaid customer service employee, but like at least 2 to 3 hours a day, they were made to do customer service so they can understand how customers function. And once they understood that this is the way that Zappos functions, people used to call Zappos and be like, hey man, I want a pizza delivered to my dorm room. And Zappos would be like, all right, $20, there you go. I'm going to get a pizza delivered to your dorm room. That's what people used to do.
Interesting. I didn't know how big it was. I mean, I'd heard like stories, but not to that extent. Yeah, it's impressive. It's very customer centric then. And so when you were in that previous situation with these other people, so from what I'm gathering, you've changed the people, you've hired better people, you've fired some low performers, hired better people, and then do you have something to, I don't like that word, but enforce the values? Do you have like a policy or like something like this to just make sure that, if people step out of the rail, then there's consequences?
You bring up a good point, right? Having a playbook, like a playbook for the company, I think it was pretty good. That's something that I know we worked on together, or rather you worked on, and then I just said, okay. Whereas before, and I said, I'm not the very best at figuring out how to give bonuses or how to come up with scorecards, etc. It was just like, hey, I think so. Company's doing pretty well. Here's $500, hopefully, or Christmas bonus or whatever, right? Not looking at it the other way around and saying, okay, how are we measuring this employee's performance? What is the way that the whole how are they performing in general in terms of, and what is the true north stick that we're keeping them to, right? Because people do need to be kept in check. There was a yellow card and a red card system we came up with. 2 yellows is equal to a red. If you don't follow the company values, you don't follow the company mission, you don't follow the company ideals or the experience that we provide to our customers, then maybe this isn't a good fit. Not saying you're fired immediately. That's why we give them a yellow card. Take course correction. This is how you should be doing things. And 2 yellow cards make a red. Maybe our interests are not aligned. Goodbye. Of course, we pay them for their time. We pay them for everything. And, just move on. We don't want to be in that situation where we take advantage of our employees. But yeah, I mean,
do you remember when you asked Mustafa to leave as well? Well, I shouldn't have said his name. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, you had an employee, if you remember, who was one of your top performers, and but his attitude towards some of the other member of staff was not what we expected.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had an employee who was pretty toxic. They were toxic because they were talking down to women in the company in a very sexist manner. And, we nip these things in the bud because we're an equal opportunity employer, no matter where our team is based, be it in the Philippines, be it in Turkey, be it in, Bahrain, be it in Kenya, but everybody's the same. And it was hard. I'll be honest. I mean, it was very hard because we tried to course correct this guy. However, they were quite keen on repeating the same behavior and being very machoistic. And that sort of does not fly. It does not fly in an organization that we're trying to build where we're trying to give everybody equal opportunities. It's, it was their loss, unfortunately. We tried, we gave them feedback. It was pretty open that, sexist behavior is not tolerated, and same thing. If they did it and it was okay, thank you, goodbye. We don't like that. We don't appreciate it. We'll not stand for it.
So there's a question I have for you about this, because I don't think it's really talked about. I'm very keen to get your feedback on this. I really felt that once we started getting good quality people in our hiring pipeline, you felt much more able to stand your ground as a CEO and as an owner of the company and let people go if you needed to.
Well, I was empowered. That's the word I would use, right? I was empowered with having you and then having like a good HR policy in place, right? Having a scorecard system in place, which enabled me to go to the next level, which was like, oh, okay, so let me tell you my mentality of before and after. Before my mentality was, oh my God, this employee is leaving. I think they're an A player and all hell has become loose. What am I going to do? I'm going to drink and I'm going to figure out a way, give them a pay raise bonus, give them a bonus. And this person then is only loyal to the coin, right? They're going to leave tomorrow and it's just I'm going to have issues. Whereas the second scenario is, well, if you want to leave, mister, okay, no problems. We'll find somebody else. We have a hiring pipeline. We have all these things in place. If you want to
Yes.
go and if you're loyal to the coin, there's the door. Go ahead. I'm sorry, we can't match those salaries that you're getting. But working with the organization, you're given a few things. You're given the freedom of choice. You're given the freedom of, this is not me trying to own your life. You're not slaves. If you're an adult, you make your decision, then that's fine. If you come to us and then you try and leverage other offers, we already know that you are loyal to the dollar, and that's fine. But in this organization, we prefer people who are more focused on the values and the mission that we have and the goal that we're trying to achieve versus just getting out there and saying, okay, I'm just going to chase the dollar. The dollar chasing will, and me myself included as an employee, will only get you so far. And after a certain point, people are going to ask you questions.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said, because I noticed that a lot as well with other entrepreneurs that I have that I've worked with, is that there's always at the beginning a refusal to fire people, because the question is, who's going to do their job and what are we going to do, and we're not going to be able to survive without them doing their job. And they very much feel like taken in hostage because they don't have a good recruitment pipeline working for them in the background. So they always feel like we're not going to be able to replace that person quickly, and who's going to do their job and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think having and that's what I think one of the things that my light bulb moment that I would say working with you was, don't worry, calm down. And I'm a very high energy person. And I tend to like take stress and be all over the place quite easily. Is that, don't worry, we'll find somebody. You just relax. And it's like, so for me, I think the way I would explain my work with you was basically, initially it was getting the team all in order. What that essentially means is getting the mission, vision, values of the company sorted, right? Having somebody that is an internal resource for HR, which is hiring. Then the second step comes, you're just not a hiring manager. You're also a person who works in terms of employee retention, getting all these other things done on top, which not a lot of people see the value in. I think, and that was something that I haven't said before. It's like a lot of people underestimate the value that human resources or that particular aspect brings to your company, right? Getting your company, your most valuable resource is human in your company, right? It's a tried and tested thing. People have probably beat this horse to death a few times, but it's like they don't understand the value of having a human resources department. And if you don't have the department, you don't have a good bookkeeper. These are the two, like, these are some of the most undervalued things, as we found out over the years, is like having a good bookkeeper and having a really good HR person. They'll change your whole company. And not a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, pay attention to it. They don't.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And so it's like you've changed the mission, vision, values. You've brought in some KPI which are objectively assessed with data in order to give you a reliable source of information of how your people are doing. You link the bonuses to it. You fired the low performer, brought in better high quality people. And now basically your obviously your business is running itself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
With your management team and everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a self-sustaining operation. So, if I want to take a holiday, which I have, or like, a good example is I was at this retreat for 48 to 72 hours. I mean, I was intermittently, of course, in and out at work. But what I did find out was like the company can run itself. I don't need to be in the company 24/7. I can actually like step back and be like, okay, I'm at a conference. You guys run the show. And I'm just going to keep checking in. If you need me, just, reach me on WhatsApp or whatever. But I can actually like go and enjoy being at a conference. I can go and enjoy these other things in life. And these are like, if somebody would have said 2 years ago, I'd be like, there's no way. There is no way on God's green earth would I be able to do this. Like, I can go for bike rides now. I can go for like 2 hours at a time. It's like, and not worry about business. My business runs itself. It is so goddamn important that you enjoy this journey. And I'm, albeit enjoying a little later in life, but I can tell you that you work so hard to build something for yourself, but if you don't get to enjoy that whole process of hiring that management team and hiring somebody else, where you get to take a step back and having the company run itself, like that in itself is an achievement that you kind of feel very proud and fulfilled with.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So thank you for that.
That's okay. And so we have 5 minutes left because I know you have to go to squash, I think, just after. And we've talked quite a lot already, and you've been very generous with your time. So I just have, one or two last question is, what's the future for you now and for your company? Where do you see, taking that team, and where do you see taking your business to with, now that you have a very high functioning team, you can do lots of different things, going to conference and everything. But in terms of actual business, what's the future for your business? Where do you want to take it?
Well, we want to scale to about $25 million plus in revenue. I know it's a figure, but it's an important figure for me because at that amount, I believe that it's a milestone, right? It's like we've already hit so far this year what in terms of revenue what we did last year, and it's only month number 9
before Q4.
10. Yeah, it's Q4. So we whatever else happens over here, I mean, we're looking at between a 20 to 30% growth, which is how companies should be growing, right? Of course, investing in resources. What I mean by that is investing in better people would be next. I mean, it's like we have good people with us. We have phenomenal people with us, but it's always good to up your game, like have objectivity in the company. It's like, wait a second, things are running well. Do we want like DK to set in? Probably not. You won't be doing yourself justice by doing that.
So what's your plan for new hires? Is there any opening that you're going to open very, very quickly? Mm-hmm. I know you're looking for a Shopify developer, but we talked about a business developer as well.
Developer to help out with all our needs at the moment. And of course, another thing is, given the situation that we have, given that we're running these highly functioning teams, is to actually work with other businesses on the e-commerce side to be able to, because we have a system that works for us, right? Is there a way that we can use these 30 highly functioning people, and can we work or partner with other businesses and have our business centralized in the sense that, okay, we have, the bookkeepers, we have all these guys in customer service, we have all these guys in design, and can we work with other businesses or partner with other businesses and say, okay, look, we'll invest in the business, be able to bring them in, be able to outsource all the customer service, be able to outsource all the design, be able to outsource, kind of like an agency almost, right? But we'll actually control everything for them. And those business and operators, they don't need that sort of headache to be dealing with all this. All they need to be dealing with is, growing the business, which is, via ads, or we can even take that on. But it's like, then their sole business focus is getting the best product possible in the market, being able to ship that product to market. And that becomes the sole focus.
So you're saying you're looking at acquiring new businesses to leverage your team and like create some sort of synergies or stuff like
that. Yeah, that would be it.
So if someone is listening to the show and they have a business and they're not quite sure, and maybe they want an investor or whatever, is that the sort of things you're open to, basically?
Of course, any damn day.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. Well, if people are interested, they can contact me and I'll put you in touch together. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think I think external growth is something that's when you get to the stage that you're at with your business, it's probably the next level. Is what can I do in terms of acquiring new businesses and using the stuff that's working for us in a business that's lacking that. You're looking obviously at tremendous synergies if you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about growth, right? Where the opportunity is. I mean, if growth internally, we're seeing 20-30%, then can we partner with other companies or buy other companies where we can scale that to 100% growth? So why not?
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, Ronnie.
Thanks,
It was a very enjoyable show.
Appreciate it.
It was a good discussion. Thank you very much with all your insight. I think you've been very generous with that as well. You give us a lot of, nitty details and everything. And I think it was very, very valuable. Thank you very much for that.
Tips and tricks, man. And always, I would always say this, and I'll say it as a closing note. I mean, you have come in and you've changed the way I operate and do my business. And for that, I'll always forever be thankful.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ronnie.
Cheers.
All right, then I stop it.